Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. Today I have Belinda, if I get my teeth in straight today, Belinda Roberts. Hello, Belinda, how are you?
Hi, Rebecca. I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Now, Belinda, you have some fancy letters after your name. Please tell everybody what they are.
I do. They're not an MBA, as somebody asked me the other week. I have an MBE, which I'm very proud of and was extremely humbled to receive. And it's not in the subject, as somebody asked me the other week. What's your MBE? What subject's your MBE in? I said, it's not in a subject, which was one of the more interesting questions I've been asked about it, I have to say.
That's a really, that's a very odd question. Yeah, okay. So member of the British Empire. And before I come to that,
yes,
tell everybody what it is you do, what business you run.
So my MBE is for services to business and entrepreneurship, which is a big clue as to what I do. So I run a peer-to-peer learning support and networking organisation for entrepreneurs and business leaders, which I set up in 2008. So it'll be 14 years ago this coming October.
Wow, that's amazing. It's called WeDo Scotland.
Scotland, it is indeed, and it runs on a membership basis. So we organise lots of events, some of which are open to non-members as well. And our ethos is very much based on peer-to-peer learning, supporting one another and helping one another and giving back. Because in all the years that I've been an entrepreneur, the one thing that has really benefited me is other people's advice and experience. So I felt it was a really good opportunity to harness that opportunity with WeDo, and here I am 14 years later.
Brilliant. I've got so many questions around that. First of all, let's go back to the MBE. How did you end up getting that, and who nominated you for it?
Who nominated me is your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. I have asked a few people that I thought it might have been, but they've all said no. And I think the ones I asked, I think they'd have told me the truth if it had been them. So honest answer, I have no idea who nominated me. The process, I've been told, it goes through 13 different committees before it goes to the PM, and then it goes to the Queen. How I got through, I have no idea, but anyway. So there's quite a funny story around it, actually. So I didn't know anything about it. So usually if you are getting an honour, then you hear about it at the beginning of October for the New Year list, which was the one that I was in. And I wasn't expecting it for starters, but I didn't hear anything at all. So the first I knew about anything was the Cabinet Office got in touch with me via the contact form.
Right.
Website. Of course, my initial thought was saying that they needed to urgently speak to me. And my initial thought was, oh my goodness, have I done something that I shouldn't have done? So that instilled slight panic. And it was late on a Friday afternoon, and I was in London for the weekend. So I didn't even see it until Saturday morning. Of course, then I was worrying all weekend, but got back in touch with them and sent them my mobile number. So this very nice chap from the Cabinet Office then phoned me on the Monday and said, I take it you haven't received our letters. And I still had no idea what he was actually talking about. So I said, no, I haven't received any letters. And he said, well, I'm delighted to tell you that you're being awarded an MBE for services to business and entrepreneurship in the New Year's honours list, if you accept. To which I was completely gobsmacked, but I actually thought it was a joke at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I said, I said, well, I'd be delighted to accept. And I said, and anyway, it transpired they'd been writing to me at the wrong address. So he said, well, you need to, I'm going to send you a form that you need to sign. And if you can get that back to me within the next 24 hours, because it's going to the PM for approval. Now, this was in 2019, and it was right at the time of Brexit. And I think I was in such a shell-shocked state that my next comment, I said, oh, I thought the PM would be a bit busy with Brexit, says me, having just been told that I'd been awarded this for services to business. So I then made a complete and utter fool of myself. And I then suddenly said, oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. I don't know where that comment came from. And he turned around to me and he said, well, don't worry about it. He said, it's not the worst I've heard. He said, people are usually quite surprised at this stage. So you have to then obviously keep it quiet. So I'm actually, in a lot of respects, I'm really glad that I didn't get the letter at the beginning of October, because I only had to keep quiet for 4 weeks. And it was a really hard thing to do. They say that you can tell close family, but not to tell anybody else. So I was sitting kind of biting my nails for the next 4 weeks.
That's a really hard secret to keep.
It is very hard to keep.
Yeah.
To which I was in such a state of complete shock that I got it in the first place.
Yeah, and just delighted. Just, you must have been so pleased and excited about it.
I was very pleased. And it's, you know, I've sat in a couple of charity boards in the past, and a lot of people quite rightly get it for charity. So which I in no way would I have been applicable for that. So but to get it for services to business and entrepreneurship, I really was over the moon, because those are my two passions in life. People, well, three passions actually: people, entrepreneurship, and business. So
yeah, absolutely amazing, fabulous. Well, congratulations again, all over.
Thank you very much.
It's a wonderful achievement. So in 2008, memory serves me correctly, it wasn't a great year for business. 2008,
well,
banks collapsed.
In the middle of, it was right at that time. And actually it was quite funny, because quite a few people said to me at the time, when I first came up with the idea, because I had been a member of the Entrepreneurial Exchange, which I really liked, I thought it was great, but I very firmly believed that not every entrepreneur can be the next Tom Hunter, the next Tom Farmer, who were the people who were very much involved in it when I was a member. And, you know, I got to meet all these absolutely phenomenal entrepreneurs and learned so much from them. But I felt there was a gap in the market really for the sort of mid-tier entrepreneurs. I had sold my training company at that point and had taken a bit of time out and done a few other mad things before I decided I had to get back to business life, because I was really missing it.
Right.
So I, as I say, a few people said to me, "You must be off your head. What on earth are you doing setting up a business like this in the middle of a financial crash?" And I said, well, actually, I'm going to call it on the opposite end of that scale and say that right now is exactly the time that people need that extra help, the support. They need their peers around them, just to help them get through what was a really tricky time.
It's true. Yeah, it is true. I mean, we needed each other so badly back in 2008, just as we needed each other in 2020 and 2021, and the business community, and I think particularly the entrepreneurial community, do come together, don't they?
They absolutely do. I mean, being an entrepreneur can be incredibly lonely. It doesn't matter how big your business is, or how many employees you have, how many you have on your board, or whether you have a mentor or a coach or whatever it might be. There are still things that you can't discuss or don't want to discuss with the people that you work with. So to have a trusted network of people who are all like-minded, who are all in exactly the same boat, I just think works really well. And hopefully the fact that, you know, we're still here 14 years later. This year we're having our best year that we've ever had in terms of membership growth. We're selling out all of our events, obviously, because everybody's desperate to get back to that again. But it's, I think at times of crisis and when things are hard, I think these kind of organizations really come to the fore. Yeah, they do. They're much needed. And I thank you, because I've been to a few breakfasts and I have signed up and joined. Thank you. We're delighted that you have. It's great to have you on board. And also, I first met you through the Entrepreneurial Exchange, actually, funnily enough, all those years ago. So all those years ago, definitely, because it used to be great, the Entrepreneurial Exchange, and we won't go into details about that, but it was, you're right, it was a really nice place to be. It was very exciting, lots of like-minded people. And then it got a bit silly. It got a bit, well, who's got the biggest Bentley in the car park? And it definitely wasn't me. I distinctly remember parking my Volkswagen Polo in between 3 Bentleys at an Entrepreneurial Exchange event. Well, that wasn't me either, I can tell you. It definitely wasn't. It's I mean, I hugely admire our big huge success stories from Scotland. They are absolutely phenomenal. I take my hat off to all of them, but that's not what a lot of us other mere mortals will ever achieve. Yeah, mere mortals is about right. Now, I notice you've got Droddy's diary in the background there. And part of WeDo is giving back. Tell us a bit about how you do that. Yeah, so we don't just work with a nominated charity for a year. So bit of backstory, my father sadly passed away from MND 3 years ago, last June.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
And we gave Droddy our Inspiring Leader Award in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And at that point we had decided, and it was pretty personal for me, obviously, because of my father. But I had watched and I'd helped initially with a couple of small fundraiser things for Droddy. And we decided that we were going to take my name's Droddy's Foundation to be our charity partner. So that was 3 years ago. And we are not a fundraising organization, and what we can do is limited, but money from each of the tickets that we sold for our COVID awards, which we organized during the pandemic, we put £5 from each ticket towards that. And each year at our awards dinner, then we run an auction and a raffle, which is for the foundation and for Droddy.
Right. Good. Now, for a lot of people outside of Scotland don't know about Droddy Weir. Just explain who he is and what's happening to him.
Droddy is one of the best characters in the, well, I shouldn't say this, I'll be shot by every other rugby person that I know, but Droddy was capped, and don't ask me how many times because I can't quite remember, but Droddy played rugby for Scotland. He also played for the British Lions, and he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, I'm going to get this wrong too, 5 years ago I think it was, and he has the strides that he has made in terms of raising awareness of motor neuron disease, which is a neurological disease. There is no cure for it at all. There is a drug called riluzole, which slows the progression of it by approximately 3 months, but riluzole was first introduced 20 years ago, and there has been nothing that's come out since. So through the work that Droddy and Jill Douglas and everybody at the foundation has done, in addition to the MND Association down south and MND Scotland, what the foundation has done is pulled together all of the different research projects that were being worked on across the UK. So it was very disjointed before. So what they have managed to do is to pull all of the professors who are carrying out all the research and actually pull all of them together. So it's now very much a united front. And the government has committed £50 million to research for MND, which has been very much driven by Droddy and the foundation. Rob Burrows as well has been very involved in it, who's a rugby league player. So they have made absolutely tremendous strides, and there's some really positive research which is coming out now. Which is fantastic to see. So we will continue to work with the foundation. We absolutely love them. We love what we're doing, and most importantly of all, we absolutely love Droddy. Yeah. He got 3 standing ovations the night that he won our Inspiring Leader Award. His speech was absolutely hysterical. If he hadn't had his rugby career, then he probably could have stepped into Fred Macaulay. Will kill me for this now, but he probably stepped into Fred Macaulay's shoes. He is very, very entertaining.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, that is amazing work. Amazing. Well done on that. Definitely a really good cause. So of all the entrepreneurs that you've ever met, okay, and this is a question that is often asked, in your opinion, is an entrepreneur born, or can you be taught to be an entrepreneur?
Oh God, well, everybody asks me the right question, and I never come up with the right answer to it.
I don't think there is a right answer. I just want to know what your thoughts are.
I think some of the traits of an entrepreneur you can be born with. It's such a hard one. I do think some of the traits you're born with. So if you look at the typical traits of an entrepreneur, they're innovative. They're one of the primary ones, actually, I would say, is they're risk takers. Yeah. Now, there's a question mark over whether can you teach somebody to become a risk taker. My own belief is that no, you can't. They're very driven, all the typical characteristics that everybody talks about for an entrepreneur. I think you can teach people the business skills and the sort of mindset, if you like, to a certain extent, but I don't think you can. I had quite an interesting meeting with the Scottish Government along with some of the exec team a few weeks ago, And we were talking about that very subject because they were saying that they're going to start teaching, in inverted commas, entrepreneurship in schools.
Okay.
Which all four of us around the table who were all entrepreneurs kind of went, whoa, hang on a minute. You know, can you really teach somebody to be an entrepreneur? I think I was on the board of Young Enterprise Scotland for 4 years, which I loved. It's a fantastic organisation. And I guess if you look at that in a way, that could be seen as teaching kids how to become an entrepreneur, because obviously they, you know, they set up a business, they run the business, and then they close it down again. So from that perspective, I guess you can teach quite a lot, but my own belief is that it's very much an inbuilt thing.
That's really interesting. I think you're right. Years ago, I was on the board of Young Enterprise Scotland as well. We were on a board at different times, but yeah, and that in itself is brilliant, because it gives the kids the practical skills of setting up and running a business. And running a business, you don't do it in theory, you have to do it in the real world, and you have to do, and it's the only way to learn. You can learn the theory of a sales cycle, but until you've had rejection after rejection after rejection, the theory is worth nothing. It's the reality of going out there and talking to your customers and your clients, and them going, no, I don't really like that.
Yes. Exactly. I know.
That's what teaches you how to run a business.
Yes. Exactly.
And I applaud the government for thinking about getting entrepreneurial skills into schools.
Yeah.
But please don't let teachers do it.
No, I agree. I know a lot of teachers, and they're absolutely fantastic at what they do. But I think the problem is that, and I know this is exactly what you mean as well, that you can't teach people business, and you can't try to encourage people to be entrepreneurs if it's not business people that are actually delivering.
Got to be business people who've actually run businesses. It'd be better if they've run businesses that had failed at some point and started again as well.
I'm a huge advocate of that. I had a business that failed many years ago, and yes, I'm a massive advocate of that.
Yeah, I've not met a business owner that hasn't had a business that failed.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about WeDo. So what we talk about are the challenges and the failures almost more than the successes, because it's great to hear the successes. It's brilliant to celebrate them like we do every year at the awards and all that kind of thing, and that's fantastic. But it's the mistakes that you make along the way, and sticking your paw up in the air and saying, oh my God, this is what I did. I don't know what on earth I was thinking about. But this is what I did. And it's funny actually, because when I had my training company, a lot of the management training that I used to deliver in all of our courses were based upon the way that I managed. So I was a very young manager at the age of 23 in the recruitment industry. And my God, I was a witch on a broomstick. If anybody sees this who used to work for me, I'm sure they will probably totally agree with that. I am still in touch with a lot of them, so I can't have been that bad. I used to use a lot of examples, and our training was very practical and kind of a lot of role play and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I used to talk about and give examples of different things that happened when I was managing my teams, and people's faces were an absolute study. They would sit there looking at me saying, but nobody would ever do that. And I went, actually they would, and it was me.
Yeah.
So I think that honesty and kind of raw approach to everything you do in business, I think is the way that everybody should be. But I don't think the culture in the UK really encourages that at all. In the States, it's fine, but I don't think in the UK, people really see things like that at all.
I agree. It's funny, you were in recruitment, I was in recruitment as well. Great starting ground for a general business career. And my first management role in recruitment, I too was a witch on a broomstick and made somebody cry, and it was horrible. And it was like, I didn't know what I was doing as a manager. It was dreadful.
Oh, I know. But I think back that, recruitment is very, very changed now. I was on the board of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation for a while. Which was another quite funny thing, actually. So I was the only person in Scotland on their board.
Wow.
It was when I had my training company. And I used to fly down to London for the board meetings. And they used to sit looking at me incredulously because A, I was female, which wasn't that usual at that time. And secondly, I had flown down from Scotland. You would think I had just flown down from Orkney. How was your journey? It was fine, thank you. How did you get here? On a plane? And how was the weather? I've been on a flight that took me an hour and 10 minutes to arrive. You know, I'm not living in some remote island in the back end of Scotland.
Yeah, we've got transport and everything.
I know, it's amazing, and planes and all sorts of things. It was very exciting. But no, I agree. I think recruitment is a really good grounding for, and I think also, well, I don't think it's the same now, but back in the day when we were both in that industry, it was, you know, you were out seeing clients all the time. So you got such, I think that's where my, as I used to call it, my nosiness, but I've been told by my exec team that I need to stop saying that and call it curiosity. But I think that's where my curiosity for business and for people came from. Through going out, spending time, you know, tramping around factories in a hairnet and blue shoe covers and all that kind of thing, and interviewing all the candidates and meeting all of them. And I think that's what very much has fired what I've ended up doing ultimately.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And it's certainly, that's how I've ended up in coaching and consulting, because I realized 15 years of interviewing 2 candidates a day, visiting at least 2 businesses a week is the best research you can do for business.
Yeah.
And you'll be the same. There's not a business model that you haven't come across.
No.
You know, everything you've come across. So it's really easy for you to go, oh yeah, I get that business model. It's a bit like this, or yeah, work out how you fit all that together. Yeah. No, it is. It's really good. So if a young person, the A-level results were out in England and Wales today, and the higher results were out the other week. A young person came to you and went, right, I want to set my own business up. I want to be an entrepreneur. What would your advice be to them?
First of all, to do their research in terms of what, are you talking about somebody that's got a business idea or somebody that just wants to be an entrepreneur?
You kind of get both, don't you? Because you get people who know they want to run a business, but they don't know what business they want to run. And then you also get people who have an idea.
Yeah. So first off, the ones that think that they want to be an entrepreneur and want to have a business, I don't think that those are necessarily the people that should immediately go off and start researching, coming up with some innovative idea for a business. I think and I'm a massive advocate of apprenticeships as well. So I am constantly banging on all the time and saying to people, you do not have to go to university. University is not the be all and end all. It works for some people, it doesn't work for others. And I think that is a message that we really, really need to be pushing home to the whole sort of, well, schools and to further education. I do think it's improving, but it still needs a lot of work done on it. Right. So to those people, I would suggest either going and doing an apprenticeship, be that modern apprenticeship or whatever it might be, in as broad a ranging subject as possible. Or if they already have a business idea, research to me is absolute number one. And it's one of the things I say all the time to the young entrepreneurs that I work with, is when they come to me and say, I've got this idea, it's absolutely brilliant. And I will be brutally honest, because I'm not one of these people that will sit there and say, if they tell me an idea and I think that's been done already, it hasn't worked for whatever reason, or that's a completely madcap idea, I just don't think there's a market for it. Not that I know everything by any manner of means at all, but I am around businesses all the time. So the one thing that I always say is, if you have an idea, go and do your research. And of course, I've seen so many people over the years that when I ask that question, how much research have you done? Oh, I've done lots. I've spoken to my friends and my family. Well, your friends and your family, the vast majority of them, are going to want to be supportive of you and encourage you and all the rest of it. So they are much more likely to say, yes, that's a really good idea. And also, how much experience do they actually have anyway? So you want to make sure you're asking the right people, i.e. your end users or your customers. Because if you're not speaking to your target audience, then you're never going to know whether it's going to be a success. Somebody who is not going to be a target customer or audience won't know anything about it.
It's true, and I'm going to add something to that, in that even when you talk to your target customers and they tell you they want the thing that you're proposing to offer, that's not always true either.
No,
because people will say they want something, and then actually when it comes to it, they won't hand over money for it.
yes, yeah.
So there's a lot. Yeah, I agree. You need to do your research, and then you need to be really super flexible when you're trialing it out, and just get that constant feedback of, yeah, if we did this, what if we did that? How did you find that? And then you tweak and navigate as you go. But you're right, you've got to find out whether your target market actually want to buy what you've got.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And it's there. I mean, there's masses and masses of support out there for startup organizations, which is, we are not really involved in startup space at all. We are much more for sort of mid-tier entrepreneurs, but there is masses and masses of support out there for people. But it's it's a lot of what makes a business succeed, obviously assuming that you have the market, you have the product, the service, or whatever it is the passion that the person has for it. And I've had a few people say to me over the years, well, I want to be an entrepreneur because I want to make lots of money. Well, for certainly in the early stages, unless you are exceptionally lucky, you're certainly not going to be doing that, particularly if you're bootstrapping your business, which is what so many entrepreneurs do. That's just not going to happen. Oh, I want a better lifestyle. Well, you're not going to have that either if you're going to be an entrepreneur and set up a business that you're serious about. You will be working every single hour that has ever been sent to you. And you're going to forgo going out, you're going to forgo seeing friends, you're going to forgo seeing family, which is, it's not necessarily good. I'm not a big advocate of that either. I think to try and get a work-life balance is great, but I don't think in the early stages of an entrepreneurial business that you really are going to have much chance to do that. So again, it's something that I'm afraid I'm brutally honest about. And it has actually, some people that I've spoken to after I've had a conversation with them have actually got to the end of it and said, do you know what, I don't actually think that's for me, which is fine.
You probably saved them a lot of heartache, Belinda, which is good, and save them money.
Well, yes, there's that as well. That's also true.
Now, if WeDo Scotland had a personality or a character, how would you describe it?
In how many words?
Oh, as many as you like.
How many adjectives am I allowed? I would describe it as inspiring, innovative, motivational, bubbly, because I think it's really important that we all have fun as well as work hard, because as I just said a minute ago, we all work extremely hard, we work long hours, we sacrifice a whole load of things, and I think it's really important that we have fun as well. It's very much a community as well. It's not a word that I would ever have used. When I first set WeDo up, we veered away from even describing it as networking, because networking has got such a bad rep. And we've all been at events where you've been pinned up against a wall by somebody ramming a business card down your throat, or telling you, not even asking you, that you need a new website, or you need a pension, or you need whatever it might be. No offense to anybody who works in any of those sectors, incidentally. But that's why we said at the beginning, we're not even going to say we're networking, because it had such a bad reputation. And ours is not like that. We've got a no sales policy, but none of our members would even need to say that to anyway, because they just know it's about help and support and giving back. So I think bubbly, fun. We've got a serious side as well. Informative, I think, too. So I try and keep really abreast in terms of what's going on with funding, grant opportunities, all that kind of thing as well, just to keep the members updated with that, which, as you can imagine, during the pandemic was a huge job. But we had 20 pages on the website which were all about all the different aspects of COVID support, which itself was like a full-time job, because things were changing all the time.
God, that is amazing.
It was a huge amount of work, but there were a lot of people that found it really beneficial.
I bet they did. And where are you going to take it? What's the future for WeDo?
So we're in a big growth kind of spurt at the moment, for want of a better description. That's not the right business term to use, is it? Never mind. Yeah, we're growing a lot at the moment. We've got a particular focus, and this is not meant in any sexist way at all, but we've got a particular focus on female entrepreneurs. And I know there's so many people out there banging on about it, and I'm not banging on about it, but I think it's really important. So last year, for the first time ever, we didn't have any female winners for our awards. And we can't magic female entrepreneurs out of thin air if they're not applying or being nominated for the awards. That, you know, we're limited in terms of what we can do. So we've got a gentle focus, I would say, on that.
Right.
And our female membership has grown by 12% since January this year, which is great.
Good.
Still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. We've got our first international member now, who is actually, her business is based in Hong Kong, but she's actually been stuck here since the start of the pandemic. So she's been managed to get back to Hong Kong twice over the last 2.5 and she's obviously got her team and an office there and all the rest of it. So I'd really like to be doing more work with international entrepreneurs. But we're kind of fluid, and we're always open to ideas and different things. But I love what I do. It's not like a job to me, which is probably why I work silly hours. But I absolutely love what I do. I love all of our members. I mean, I have got the best job in the world, to spend my time with all of these hugely inspiring entrepreneurs and out meeting people all the time. It's brilliant. Yeah,
it is good. It's a really nice thing to be a member of. It's lovely. Everybody's lovely. And we just, there's no selling. We just chat.
Yeah.
And that's really nice to do that.
I think what's helped with that is the fact that, and we used to be very vocal about this, so we were membership by invitation only. Which we were in Thomas. But the reason that we said that in the first place, and it was actually Graham Langley that said that to me way back when I set it up, and he was one of the founding ambassadors in the exec team. And he said to me at the time, he said, make it membership by invitation. And I sat there scratching my head saying, why on earth would I do that? We want to build up the members as quickly as we can. And he said, yeah, but I know you. And I am pretty well known now for having a very severe allergy to egos. So as he said to me, he said, if you end up with a whole load of people who've got quite enormous egos that require to be worshipped at an altar, he said, it's not going to work. He said, it's not going to work for you, never mind for anybody else. So we still have that. And you were lucky, a lot of the members refer other members in to us, and people can apply online. But I'm afraid if anybody has an ego and wants to sit and share with us their rose-tinted glasses overview and journey of their business life to date, I'm sorry, we're not interested, because nobody has that. It doesn't matter what you do.
No, it's nobody. They're fibbing if they tell you it was plain sailing. Absolutely fibbing. Brilliant, Belinda. Thank you so much for your time today. We have come to the end of our time. That went so quickly. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to see you soon.
Lovely to see you, and thank you very much for chatting as well. Really enjoyed it.